All right. Today I wanted to start off a little bit by reading a passage from one of my favorite books. And today is Approach. And it says, Good approaches the superior person. So let's see. This hexagram Lin signals the approach of powerful beneficial influences. Just as the winter solstice heralds the return of spring, the appearance of this hexagram marks a similar movement toward light and growth. Progress and success are assured now to those who persevere on the path of truth. To maximize the opportunity implicit in this moment, it is important to cultivate a proper attitude. It is easy during good times to relax our inner discipline and fall back into incorrect thoughts and actions. Allowing one's ego to take over in a moment of success is a sure means of ending the progress that has begun. The growth that is at hand was made possible by conscientious behavior, and continuing carefully along that path is our only means of coming into full possession of it. A steadfast modesty and acceptance, whether external conditions are good or bad, is the mark of the superior person. In yourself, maintain balance, equanimity, and humility in times of accomplishment. With others, remain patient, tolerant, and gentle. Clinging to these principles assures you a time of joy and prosperity. So, want to welcome you to the office hours this week. Happy Sunday to everyone. And wanted to start off here with a question that I got from Julia in the Facebook group. And her question is, I have my goats and chickens and compost operations in one big stable type building made of stone 110 years ago. That's pretty incredible. For the winter. Probably not a wise choice to put the IMOs in the deep litter and compost inside there. I'm thinking to just put the LAB for deep litters. Is there a solution I could use? So in my case, I keep my IMOs in a barn, and it does have a dirt floor. So having some kind of natural material to leave the microbes against is, so they're touching that because they're alive. They just kind of go into a dormant state, but they wake up once in a while, and it's basically based on moisture. So as long as you're not having excess moisture in there, that should be a good place to store. And storing the IMOs against the deep litter system. I did a IMO pile in an old kind of like abandoned chicken pen, because I used to have two chicken pens side by side, but then when I scaled down my flock, I only needed one pen, not two. And so I turned that second pen kind of into a classroom. And I thought it would be a great place to turn my IMOs and make the microorganisms on the old chicken pen. But what ended up happening to me was the floor was so alive that I ended up digging down like several feet. And because that litter was still alive, as I was turning my IMO pile to keep the temperature down, I kept with I turned my pile with a snow shovel. I kept digging down deeper and deeper and deeper until my IMO pile, which I was trying to make IMO 3, which I was just using horse feed and the IMOs plus the liquid solutions. But it ended up turning into almost an IMO 4 because that deep litter got mixed in. So when you're talking about turning or storing the IMOs on top of a deep litter system with chickens, it seems fine to me in terms of your IMO pile. However, in my case, I ended up mixing in the floor. And then the other thing is, if you are growing this or you're trying to keep a pile where there are chickens around, they will most certainly spread that pile out and just scratch. And it may be hard later to find out what was your actual IMO pile and what was not, and what is the deep litter. But when it comes to using it in practicality, all of that becomes usable. And in my case here on this farm, largely what I'm using my IMO for, so I go from IMO 1, 2, 3, and then make IMO 4, and it's half soil mixed into it. And what I end up using my IMO 4 for, it's kind of funny to say, is um, is putting it into my animal feeds, and then I'll use it occasionally right when I prepare a new garden bed. Or for instance, I just dropped a bunch of wood chips and fish guts together to build these piles, because I'm all about pile tech. And now I'm planting cassava, also known as tapioca or yuca or manioc. It's one of the most eaten starches around the world. And so around then, so once I built those piles, I scattered into the fish guts and into those piles a bunch of IMO4, and then scattered it all around, and then began to do soil treatment solution on there. So spraying a little bit of the maintenance solution, and so the other things that I calculate with my app. It's known as the soil solution. And so that's how I'm using the IMO4. But largely what I end up using on my farm for anything that's growing already and anything that's already established, and I'm not trying to build soil foundation per se, is I use either the floor from the chicken pen or the floor from my pig pens. So I consider those like in Cho's methodology, those things can be somewhat confusing, because he calls fermented mixed compost, so taking a compost pile and blending an IMO4 to it, IMO5. He also calls the floor of the pig pen IMO5, and he also calls the chicken pen floor IMO5. And there's about, I don't know, like in the translation, it's kind of actually one of the things that gets lost in translation. He calls several things IMO5. So in my vocabulary, what I've started to call these things is the IMOs that are made from the compost pile. I call that fermented mixed compost, FMC. It's in his old recipe book. And then I call the animal floor, I call that bio, BIO. And those are what I use when plants are growing. So because those have so much more nutrition from all that fermented animal dung, um, breaking down, as well as the floor. And if I start to dig down into my pig pen floor, because it's about 2 feet, it's 4 feet deep in total, but the bottom 2 feet are logs. The top 2 feet are actually it's wood chips, and by the time I go to harvest it, there's actually about a foot to 18 inches remaining, because that top 6 inches to a foot will compost down and compact down, because I fill them up to the top about twice a year. But I use that material, and that material is just amazing. And when I am digging down into this, I find that it's about 108, 110, even 115 degrees. And so what it is that is like, as it's some of the best IMOs on earth, because these microbes a standard IMO 4 pile is just going to ferment for 1 week. But this is about 6 months of those same microbes learning, living, breeding, activating. And when I go to use those guys, they're so much more advanced. Plus, they have the other nutrition from the animal waste, from the urine, all that's falling on the floor that keeps this no smell system going. And so that's the material that I actually recommend to use. So when you're talking about storing your IMOs in the barn, it's like, yeah, incorporate that in and get that into your chicken pen and have them enhance your microorganisms, so that in the spring when you go to use this, when your things are sprouting, put out actually put out the IMO 4 to start the soil foundation. But then as the plants start to grow, start to amend them with the floor from your animal pen. And I highly recommend anyone that's getting into KNF, that the Korean natural farming, that they start to get animals. And chickens are great for the eggs. I just killed 2 roosters with my wife this last couple days ago, and we're just hatching new chickens and raising them up. So we're getting this full sustainability when you get the animals into the picture. And the other part of the animals that adds to the whole system is, in a traditional compost, if I'm just trying to mix, carbon to nitrogen ratios, it takes forever to compost. And by forever, I mean like a month, 2 months for things to break down. However, the animal will eat this food, and within 24 hours, 48 hours, it comes out completely composted right out the backside. And if you have a chance to study from Ray Yoon, who's a natural farmer teacher, he talks about what he calls poopology. And so it's the study of poop. And really, he makes the argument that these animals are vital for these systems. They're really some of them, it accelerates the composting, and it's what makes everything break down so fast. And so in Korean natural farming, you can raise chickens or pigs or even cattle or sheep or horses or goats or whatever animal, dogs. Well, you don't, I mean, I'm not going to advocate that you eat the dogs, but if you do have dogs, you can use this same deep litter system in their dog house, in their place they poop. In all these other animals, if you keep them in an area where you build this deep litter system, they will build some of the best soil for you. And you can raise them literally outside your bedroom window, and there's no smell, and no and you don't have to clean it. And you get this tighter relationship with your animals. Like I love going up to my pig pen and just like laying down and petting my pigs, and rubbing their bellies. And they're such great animals. They're such good friends. They're like giant dogs that are just so friendly and loyal and cute. And so this system of bringing animals in and making them your IMO masters. Because if you think about it, making an IMO 3 and IMO 4 pile, you're always having to turn that and really tend it. But if you put an animal, once you've got the IMO 4 and you inoculate their floor, they are tending the pile for you. They are making the best IMOs on earth possible for you. And the only thing you have to do is replenish that the organic material on the top, and then feed them, make sure they have water, those things. But then they keep the perfect temperature going. Like the pigs, especially. I mean, the chickens too, because the chicken's natural thing is to scratch, is to dust bath, is to bring those microbes and stir them for you, and keep them super pristine for you, and bring them, and the pigs, they'll dig their snout into the IMOs and turn them, and it's it, I don't know, it's one of the most rewarding things. So you're composting faster, they're making better IMOs for you. And I used to think of my pigs as this big cost to me, because it costs a fair amount to feed a pig all the time, and I don't generate enough food waste out of my family to sustain a pig. You actually need like quite a few people to generate enough food waste to feed the pig just off food waste. So I supplement my pigs with papaya that I get, and otherwise it would be wasted, thrown in a pit kind of thing. So I get that once a week. I get about 800 pounds of papaya, pick it up, and then feed it to my pigs. And I used to think, it's a pretty big cost. I got to drive across town to go pick that up and be able to feed it to them. And I used to think, oh, it's such a burden to have these animals, even though, because my initial reason for keeping animals was to prove the Korean natural farming system works, and to prove that we can raise no smell animals like in confinement, and to show how environmentally this is the smartest thing. Because you could put this system outside of an apartment complex, and now all the food waste, all the things that you would typically throw away, besides plastic, the pigs don't really like to eat that much plastic, could be now generating pork for you. And instead of creating a landfill problem, now you're creating microbes and a healthier ecosystem, healthier water, healthier air. Kids get an ability to interact, even if they're in like the inner city of wherever. The kids get to have interactions with animals, and the pigs are such great teachers. Just sitting there and watching them, how simple they are, and how in tune with nature they are. It's just a calming effect. And so that was the reason I had these pigs, was to prove that Korean natural farming worked. But it was kind of a burden to do this, until I had a mindset change, where it was like, these pigs aren't just the eating food and costing me everything. These pigs are now the core of my farm. All the waste we have goes to the pigs. They're generating the fertility that then goes and feeds the rest of the farm. And so I grow a lot of bananas. Most recently, and in fact, I didn't even intend to produce the bananas for sale, but I planted the bananas to feed the pigs, to get this cycle happening, so that I would be able to feed the pigs off my land. And now, because I have more bananas than I need, and I don't feed the pigs the actual like yellow bananas, the things that you would eat. What I feed them is the banana stalk. So I cut that banana stalk, and that's what I'm feeding the pigs. That plus the papaya primarily, and a little bit of other supplementary food that it would be offset by food waste had I have did if my family generated more. But I'm trying to get this cycle together. And now I ended up with so many bananas, because I just wanted to feed the stock to the pigs, that now I produce hundreds of pounds of bananas a week to sell to actually the legendary Ginger John and his wife Jackie. They started a cafe in town to sell natural farming produce to people, and they make a bunch of smoothies and all kinds of great local farm, straight from the farm food. And so I sell them the bananas, and they put it into sugarcane juice and make smoothies, and it's turned out to be a really great market for me. So now these pigs are the centerpiece. They're creating this fertility. And now I'm able to generate a fair amount of money by selling the produce. And it's been a long road in my case of getting from learning natural farming, coming from a background of computer science and technology, and thinking to myself that just drinking rock stars and eating pizzas was not really those energy drinks was not the best lifestyle for me, and realizing that what we're doing to the planet with the industrial food system is the ocean, how it's dying, and how we're in like the fifth Holocene extinction and all of life was dying. All that kind of dawned on me when I got into the world, and I was like, wow, well, in addition to understanding like artificial intelligence and TensorFlow and all these you know like right here I have like an edge TPU, this thing, can't see it because my virtual background, but like this little single board computer is like this is like a little Google board. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that on there. It says Google. This little board is a thing to develop artificial intelligence on, and that's like my hobby, the thing that I love to do. I love the highest intelligence, the most advanced things we possibly have. This little board that runs TensorFlow, um, and then but realizing that if we just go technology, if we just head towards this, I don't know, like this idea of like a singularity and turning every human into just a data capturing battery to feed the AI machines, and that we're gonna die, and that's our extinction. And so it dawned on me, like, not only do you have to be like a master of technology, of the high tech stuff, you also have to be a master of the even higher tech stuff, which is nature itself, to be like fully integrated into understanding that like our basis is food, and it's good food, and it's not just like a hydroponic future where we can have vertical farms in cities and continue to urbanize the land. But I believe we need people out caretaking each square inch and growing good food that's actually acting as a carbon buffer and bringing the soils together, bringing the microbes back, which sucks out toxic gases, which then the byproduct of that is delicious, nutritious food, and raising animals in ways where the number one priority is animal welfare, not just making money and having some animal, but caring for the animals and raising livestock in ways where we can be living in symbiotic relationship with them. And that's how I ended up getting into natural farming, and getting on this long road from thinking like, yeah, I want to learn about AI, and I totally did, and it's great, and it's awesome. And artificial intelligence can do amazing things when you have large data sets. But what's more important is natural intelligence, keeping ourselves alive, building resilient systems. And instead of trying to build some big machine to do carbon capture, but planting trees have been carbon capturing for since the beginning of trees evolving and becoming a part of this earth and stabilizing our climate. And when you think of trees, thinking of them above the ground, sure, the tree is made of carbon and oxygen, and it's like 99% of the tree, or I don't know, maybe it's 96% of the tree actually comes out of the air. So it's actually carbon right out of the air in the tree, and only about 4% of the tree is earth minerals. So when you see a tree and you think, wow, all that came out of the earth. No, most of that came out of the air. Just a little bit came out of the earth to hold it all together, to give it the elements it needs to grow. But the majority of it is, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, um, and hydrogen. And all those things come right out of the air, and out of the water, right? And the water typically comes out of the air in a good system, although a lot of things we overuse the well water today. But that is not only is the upper part of the tree, you can see a carbon sink pulling these gases, pulling these toxins out, but you also got to think about the root system, putting out these exudates and creating mycelial, like trillions of miles of mycelia, which is also a carbon structure, which is also working to remediate the earth, which is also building this deep, what they call humus, in these deep, stable carbon buffer compounds under the earth. And so a tree is one of the best carbon sinks. I mean, besides the ocean is the biggest carbon sink, but the trees on the land is what keeps the ocean clean, so the ocean can continue to buffer our CO2 and to buffer our gases and to keep our planet stable and not have these rapid climate changes. It's this system that's been around for millennia. And so it's this type of natural intelligence, these types of systems that I see that, I went to school and learned all this, computers and all these things, but even the best algorithms that we have for computers are based on natural systems. Like take this, the edge TPU, this thing I was talking about here, this thing, it's based on TensorFlow, which mimics how the neurons in your head work. Like it's just ripple effects of pulses of electricity going and flipping, kind of like when they model it, it's flipping bits. And I don't know how it actually works in your brain. It's neurons that hold information. But even the highest technology we have is based on natural intelligence, natural systems. And so it's that type of thinking where that's why I believe, Korean natural farming and looking to the earth, mimicking the earth, is the actual solutions that are going to save us, the solutions that are going to pull us out of climate instability and return us back to climate stability, that are going to minimize the amount of toxins in our groundwater. Because we don't really have a water shortage. We have a clean water shortage. And the other thing is that, I mean, I guess we kind of do have a water shortage, and I've addressed that before, but it's when you kill the upper land and you kill the soils, all those microbes, that they hold moisture. Like go look under a pile of wood chips, and there's moisture. Even in a desert, it's moist, and it's that's holding moisture. And so when we till the earth and we destroy that microbial layer, all of that moisture holding capacity, which then leads to stable air temperatures, because water is so hard to heat up and cool down, so much energy needs to go into it, that the moisture in the soil then stabilizes the air temperature, which then stabilizes climate change and makes the thing not, the whole planet not fluctuate so fast. And that's what is the true technology. And so to stay kind of on this point, even though it's a kind of a long bit here, is that I learned this and I studied the best stuff, and I was like, man, natural farming, like this is as simple as it seems. And the fact that I learned from Cho, and that was just like, this old guy that Dr. Park, that I happened to learn from back in 2007, that I just happened to meet up. I was like, this technology, this was the answer I was looking for. And I happened to hit on it pretty early in my life. And as soon as I did, I knew that these were the answers, and that this was the true technology we're looking for. When they say, the classic meme in the KNF group where these are not the microbes you're looking for, the Obi-Wan Jedi stuff, when people make IMO 1 and it's all kind of rainbowed out and stuff. You really want like the nice white hyphae and the good mycelia that sticks together. But these are the microbes we're looking for. This is the technology. These guys are kind of the force, to stay on this kind of Star Wars meme here, that they really, this technology, in calling it technology is a weird idea. This phenomenon, these systems that the microbes have made are the key to stabilizing the climate, to growing more food for a growing population, to giving more people employment in unsteady jobs. Imagine your job was to go out to the forest and spread the microbes, and to build more fertility, to get rid of these blights and beetles and bugs that are eating, not by eliminating them, by going and spraying poison to go eliminate a blight or to eliminate some insect, but to increase the fertility of the forest to such a high degree that it itself will be resistant to these pathogens. And that could be, like not that I'm into like bunch of government spending or things, but if we took the banking system and actually made the banking system directly related to nature, and how do you determine wealth? Well, these older systems where it's like, how many pigs do you have? That's a sign of wealth, right? Your piggy bank. If you're able to have a lot of pigs, it shows that you're able to produce a lot of agricultural products. And to me, that's a much better sign of wealth than it is digital dollars or fiat currency that's just created that has no relationship to Earth. In fact, the classic way that in today's, I mean, it's classic, it's just this modern phenomenon that's that's a very quick blip, but is by saying, how many trees can you cut down to turn into these fiat dollars? That, sure, you made houses and you made, wood is like kind of the basis of human society in a lot of ways, the trees, the soil, the food. But by issuing just currency to people, it actually accelerates the climate destabilization via the way our central banks and those things operate today. Versus, think about it, where it's like, what is rich? To me, it's having a stable piece of land, something that's going to resist climate change, something that's going to continually produce food, something that's going to sustain my family for generations. That is wealth, versus just, dollar bills or whatever currency you have that's just based on printing from one central, not even, it's a private bank that loans to a government that even that is questionable of whether they govern or not. It's kind of, the media just kind of convinces you of different things. But when you get back to natural farming and you get back to this lifestyle, all of a sudden that other stuff, it's just, it doesn't make as much sense. It's like tricking you. Like, what is health? Health is healthy soil. What's going to protect you from the next pandemic? Is it is it something that science is going to come up with, or is it building a resilient immune system around you of trillions of microbes within your gut that helps you digest food better, putting lactic acid bacteria and IMOs on your skin so that if any virus or bad bacteria lands, it has to fight thousands of good guys protecting me? Or is it completely sterilizing everything and putting hand sanitizer, which destroys my microbiome and actually absorbs into my system and compromises my entire inheritance of microbiology? You gotta, like, if you're a natural farmer, you start to think of these things. It's like, there's my pigs creating waste, and it should be like, if you go to a piggery in Iowa or something, where they produce a bunch of hogs on cement floors and washed down and in these conditions, it smells for miles around. And what that smell is it's those pathogenic microbes breaking down that material in anaerobic conditions, which is very disease causing for humans. Versus you go to my piggery and it's no smell. You can lay down on the floor. You can pick up the pig's poop and pull it apart, and it doesn't even smell. It becomes non-biohazardous. And to me, that is the health. That is the wealth. And I think it's worthwhile talking about this, since I'm kind of on a roll here, about the pigs and African swine flu and the chickens and bird flu. And what happens is, in Korea, because I don't think African swine flu is here yet. It is in the Philippines, however, and it did just take out the guy that I was consulting with, because he still had the wash down system, and I was trying to get the microbes in there to create a biosecurity plan for him, where they could go and walk through the microbes before they enter the facility. But in Korea, they've been wiped out by foot and mouth disease for the pigs, but never has a Korean natural farm piggery been taken out by these diseases. Never. So, and also the bird flu, which wiped out a couple of years ago. I think it was 2018, wiped out 2017, 2018, wiped out majority of the chickens in Korea, but never did a Korean natural farming chicken pen get wiped out. They'd go in and they'd test the animals and no virus. And according to their theory, the virus just floats through the air and just wipes everything out, and there's nothing you can do except vaccinate. Korean natural farming, no vaccines, no need to do that. And the animals, because they're living in this microbial system, because they're living with all this health around them, because there's no biohazard from their waste, because they have good airflow through the facility, they don't get these pneumonias. They don't get these problems. They live. And so, similar thing for me. What do I think is going to keep me the healthiest? Well, going up every day, taking care of my pigs, being immersed in these microbes, putting lactic acid bacteria into my laundry, so that I'm always putting these microbes in my clothes. So if any virus or any pathogen lands on me, there's no chance for it to establish. There's no chance for it to replicate. Drinking these prebiotics, like the fermented plant juice, the vinegars, the oriental herbal nutrient, which I call all those things food, cleanser, and medicine, which I think is a little bit easier to grok in our heads. Drinking those all the time. So it boosts my probiotics, it boosts my immune system, it gives me health. And that to me is the future. This is the way out of, future pandemics. It's the way out of climate instability. It brings health. It brings nutritious life to our land. It brings it into our cities. It brings it between person to person. So if I touch you, instead of giving you, like, if I sterilize my hand and put a hand sanitizer on my hand and I kill off all my microbiome, and then immediately what grows back is pathogens. And then if I touch you, I'm no longer transferring a healthy biome. I'm transferring the nastiest stuff from me to you. Like, versus if me as a natural farmer, where I pick up all this stuff, I'm immersed in it, and I touch you, you're actually going to get healthier closer to me. Like, if I go and shake my beard on you, you're going to be a healthier person, because I'm going to build up our diversity. We're going to build up our microbiome The DNA, the RNA that we're sharing through the air is going to be healthier. I'm not going to be like coughing viruses and pathogens on you that are going to lower your immune system and cause the symptoms of disease. I'm actually going to be putting things on you that are going to increase your health. People, like, it doesn't get talked about in the mainstream, but it does, of immune system, right? If you want to prevent yourself from getting healthy, or excuse me, you want to prevent yourself from getting sick, what do? Try to boost your immune system, right? And these are the things to do, like putting these microbes, they are your immune system. It's like the more you can bring that in, the things that decide to live on me after I roll around in my pig pen are the best things. They're going to interact with my skin. They're going to enter into my system and be friendly with me. And to just, I don't know, I may as well, since it's not very many questions today, I may as well just continue to go on this. But the other thing about natural farming is that you can put yourself in what they call an IMO bath. So it's not, there's no water involved in this. So bath is not really the best idea. But I was talking to Julia from Finland about saunas. And, oftentimes you heat up rocks and then pour water on it and it steams, and that's a sauna. And that infrared heat is very good for your body. It helps your mitochondria rest and to heal. But there's something in natural farming that's even better. And that is that same infrared heat you can get from the microbes heating up. Just like last week, if you looked, I showed that temperature graph of, I put microbes in with a food source and they heated up to about 115 degrees. If you make a pile big enough, you can bury your body in it. And now those microbes heat you up, which kills pathogens living inside of you. And it makes you sweat. And when you sweat, your glands are opening up, the moisture is going, and now those microbes actually go into your skin. They penetrate down into you. And so now you're getting these indigenous, like, think of it like microbial armor. It's as if you're putting a layer of like metal on you, like a knight being like armored up with these microbes. And this is the most high level technology of, killing the pathogens, because you're sweating, you're raising your body temperature, creating this artificial fever, then putting these microbes into your body on the skin layer, where now if anything lands on me, all those microbes are penetrated into me. So if a virus or a lands on me, it has to fight all of that. And that is building like what an artificial immune system, so to say. But I mean, I think this is the highest level tech, beyond any thinking of doing stuff in a lab and trying to artificially, away from nature, figuring out how to keep people healthy, and in a lab environment where you're isolating variables and you're saying this and this and this and this, versus the natural farming where you're saying, look, we're going to take all of it, we're going to take all this diversity, we're going to enhance it to be the best it can be, and then we're going to bring that into our environment, into our animals, into our body, onto our food. So if you're eating Korean natural farming food, you're getting not only that, you're getting all those microbes into your gut flora. And there's classic thinking on it, is that all disease starts in your gut, and in your airways, in your mouth, and this system right here is the most important. So putting more microbes in it, breathing in microbes, and I'm not talking about just any kind, I'm talking about these diverse forest fungal microbes that we've evolved with for thousands of years, that have kept us healthy, that have eliminated disease, that used to be the reason you could just drink out of any stream and river, was that there was so many microbes cleaning the water that you could just drink it. But today we've just killed all our microbes. They've gone off a cliff. You can look it up. It's insane. And that is the antithesis of health. Like, why can't you drink the water out of a puddle on the ground? It's because it has all these chemicals in it, because they don't have the microbes. And for instance, like petrochemicals like burning diesel and things, where there's tons of toxins in there, but microbes eat that stuff. You can spill diesel and then cover it with microbes, and or a classic way is to cover it with hay, and those hay bacillus or the microbes in the diesel, or excuse me, the microbes look at the diesel as a food source and they eat it. And so to clean up toxic wastes, it's all about this microbes. There was a guy when I was doing the KNF conference in Texas who was from Oklahoma, and his name is Gary. And he was cleaning up old abandoned oil wells with lactobacillus and IMO. He was cleaning out all kinds of toxic sites by just spreading this stuff around. And all of a sudden, within a week or two, it's like clean as could be. And he didn't have to spend money on some, you know, expensive chemical or detergent or whatever they use to clean these things up. He just used milk and starch and created this amazing, fertile, great spot. So I just think that the amount of natural farming, the amount of solutions, the tech that we can bring, like this is the highest form of tech on the planet. And it's so simple, and you can do it at home. And like I ended last week with the the Jadam microbe solution, or what I call disgustingly cheap microbes. It's so simple. So potato, some water, some salt, some dirt that has good microbes in it. Let it bubble, and then dump it out on the land. Put it in your gardens, bathe in it. Don't drink that one because that one's a little gnarly. But these types of microbes, as long as it smells good and your nose knows, your nose is designed to detect whether there's good or bad microbes. And if it smells good to you, then most likely it's a bunch of good microbes in there. And so spreading this out, this is the vital technology that we need to keep us all healthy and to move us into the next couple years. I mean, because we're in the last doubling period. If you understand exponential theory and how resources get used, humanity is either in its last or second to last doubling period, which means that we really only have 10 to 40 years of life unless we radically shift to get more people on the land, employ people to restore and rejuvenate our forests, put a microbe sprayer in your car as you're driving around, start putting this microbes out into the environment, put it on your land, dump it on your neighbor's land, continue to grow this way. And I believe we as humans can live symbiotically with the earth for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, if we choose to, because we, by changing the microbiome, can stabilize the planet. And so if the sun eventually probably will heat up and kill the earth just based on how things go. But that's like millions of years scale versus like hundreds of years. That's something that you can't even think of, in a clear way. What we can think of is getting clean water, clean air, stable climate, gainfully employed people, riches that come from the land instead of certain cabal of people that issue money from certain areas and speculate on all kinds of things that are just fantasy. We can bring that wealth back to the people, back to us, just with this technology. And these are the solutions. It's wealth, it's health, it's nutrition, it's community, it's everything every hippie is looking for. Natural farming nails it. Besides maybe like the vegan people that are against eating animals and whatever, but you don't have to eat those animals. Raise them up, use them as composting. It's not like, what, yeah. And the number one thing for that argument is that my number one priority with my animals is animal welfare. And looking at my animals, they are smiling. They're happy. Every time they see me, they're happy to see me. They're not afraid. They don't suffer. There's a love relationship. There's love in the what I do. And so even the vegan hippies, I think, would be happy with natural farming. And my brethren Logan, he's vegan, and what he does is he brings worms into the situation. So how does he get the the animals into his situation? He raises earthworms, not earthworms, but like red wiggler worms, composting worms. And now he's able to get that same type of fertility without dealing with the animal kingdom in the same way. And it aligns with his philosophy. And so I think anybody anywhere, the solutions that, not to be arrogant by any means, but the solutions you're looking for are what they colloquially call Korean natural farming. And it's a terrible name for the thing. Why do we call it Korean natural farming? People are like, I don't care about Korea. Natural stuff doesn't work, and I'm not a farmer, right? So this doesn't appeal to everybody, but it should. It's like climate stability. What do you call this? Come up with a better name. It's like it's the solutions you've been looking for. It's the answer to almost everything. And I'm not saying it's everything. There's a bunch of different ways to farm, and I'm not trying to get arrogant here or anything. I'm just saying if you do have the 9 vital solutions, you have the tools to completely build a complete civilization, to eliminate, climate stability, health, wealth, everything is in that toolkit. And then bring in other things and get even better and go even better. So with that, I've been talking a whole bunch. I did want to do one other thing here today, and that is to share my YouTube channel with you guys, which I don't know how many of you have checked this out and seen this, but I've tried my best to open source all this information. And up here at the top, Master Cho, his daughter, Ju Young, this is my dad here on the right, and this is me here prior to the beard. I think this photo was taken 2008 in Korea. And so this video up here that starts on my YouTube channel is this Korean natural farming documentary that was filmed by Adam and Ken, and they did an amazing job. It's actually called In Search of Balance is the whole movie title. Was available on Amazon Prime, Netflix, all the major things. It looks like there's 100,000 views so far. And it kind of just briefly touches over natural farming. But as you come down on my YouTube channel, I put up this video on how to super saturate, which is one of the most important concepts that's often let out or left out of the books and other translations. Adding that extra sugar till you super saturate something is the best method for preservation of these natural farming solutions, besides refrigeration. So definitely, if you don't know what super saturation is, definitely check out this video. Here's a version of me explaining the nutrient cycle. Every time I explain this, I get better at it. This one's, I would say, is 80% there. Doing my best to inform people. Then I did some KNF cannabis. That's actually one of the largest groups of people interested in natural farming because they can make money at it. And because when you grow your product with natural farming, it's just night and day. Everything about it, the customer can tell that something's different about it. And what it is it's the microbes bringing in all those plant secondary metabolites and all these things that you just can't get any other way. And then the last featured video up here is sugar versus molasses, because there's always questions on that. Can I use molasses because it's sweet? Can I use honey? It's all addressed in this video of why you need sugar, and specifically brown sugar, to do natural farming. And so, trying to answer these general questions that always come up here. Then I have my recipes on how to make all the 9 solutions. These could be better. I really want to do a better video series on this that's correct. Chris Trump also has a series on this that's okay, and recommend checking that out if you haven't, just to learn the general basics. And then from there, research in further, because it's more than just the solutions. There's so much theory, there's so many things behind it, but knowing how to create the tools is important. And then coming down a bit are is this class series. This is a 6-class series here. It goes super in depth. It's the Korean Natural Farming Basic Certification course. I used to certify people through an organization on this, but we had some internal drama and that thing all blew up. So now I've been just certifying people with the hands-on things, and it's so much easier because it's so massively complex to get all this together. But eventually one day the Pure KNF Foundation will be, recognizing, and I want to see more people be able to brand, put up this this little orange heart and show that you've put the correct ingredients and the correct recipes and the correct methods through. But it's a monumental task to get there. So one day we'll get there. This playlist has the how-to series. I think it's all these above are actually contained in this video series, this playlist. Then this introduction to Korean natural farming is an older version of this one, but different things are talked about in there, and this one is wildly popular too. And these are me teaching what I've learned. Then this one coming over here, Natural Farming by Han Kyu Cho. This is my teacher, my master, teaching. And so he goes through, this is a whole complete video series of him going over natural farming as he knows it. So, don't just trust me, go straight to the guy I learned from, hear what he has to say. He goes into a whole bunch. And then this video series here, Elaine Ingham, if you are unfamiliar with her, she brought in the Western scientific views on Korean or on composting, which gives you the scientific basis you need to fully scientifically understand Korean natural farming. So this is like 28 hours of her. It was a week-long seminar she offered in Kohala. Put that up there. Well worth checking out if you can, put it at 1.5 times and just let it go. And then also I have Young Song Cho, who does the disgustingly cheap Korean natural farming. Got his whole video series here. He came to the Big Island 2016. We organized the whole gym. We had about 300 people come to his seminar. So been helping him get the word out, and he's best known as Jadam. Then down here, these demo farms, these are field days. So we go out from different farms and go check out what they're doing, a lot of times with Master Cho, and he makes direct recommendations. To me, this is the most valuable information for learning, because I've been in natural farming enough to know like the lecture and the fundamentals and those things, which you need that foundation. But then seeing what Master Cho sees in the field, this is how I tune my eye in to then make other recommendations for people to understand their problems, to know how they're farming. Just spending time with Master Cho in the field is so valuable for me. And so these are direct, each of these, I think, 4, 3, and 12 farm tours. So you can see going over farms and seeing what he sees in the field. Super valuable stuff. Then coming down here, No Smell Pigs. All of these are different pig tours, different things going out. So you can see this system. Talked a lot about the animal integration today. And these are, living, breathing systems that work. My systems here on the right, some of these are in Korea. This is my system here. Then coming down, these basic Korean natural farming courses. I used to call these advanced courses, but at one time I got kind of upset with the whole system. So I kind of named it basic. But these are, if you're interested in poultry, definitely check this out. I spent 14 days in Korea, and this is a video recording of everything I saw. I just roll the iPad in front of me and record everything, and it's available here. So my advanced training in poultry is here. I went to Korea for 7 days to learn about pigs. So here's 7 days of me learning about pigs here. Then I went to Korea, or the Master Cho came to Kohala, taught us about the basic nutrient cycle for 6 days, or I think it was actually 3 days. So that's this one here. Learn here directly from Master Cho. Then I went to go Korea for a week to learn about how to grow fruit trees, and that's this here. Direct there. Master Cho then came and taught us about the origins of KNF and how all these things came together. Here's a 9 video series, and then here's the field trips from that trip. So if you want to really up your natural farming game, you want to go there, you want to get the primary source, you want to learn, it's me at my courses when I go to learn, just filming it and releasing this stuff here. I just, as you heard me talk earlier, you heard these are the solutions, trying my best to get this information out. There's probably a way to better distill it for people who want to consume it, but nothing's better than the primary source in my mind. And if you have the time and energy and you really want to be an expert, check these out. Go be the primary source. Go see what I saw and, spread it around. And just to kind of finish that out here, kind of almost nearing the end of the hour, here's the farm tours in Korea. When I was there, my first trip, 2008, got to see a bunch of farms. I've gone back to those same farms multiple times. So 2015 tour, 2016 tour, seeing how are they implementing it in Korea. And those guys are making money. They're monocropping and there's no disease, no pests, and they're demanding getting the best prices for everything. So if you want to go and scale up and make your operation the best you can, you really want to take it to the next level, follow these guys. Then, bring in a scientific aspect in. I went to the Natural Farming Symposium. There's 24 scientific talks where people were getting their PhD in natural farming. So these are peer-reviewed studies. So if you want to go into the science aspect, we had a natural farming symposium in Hilo where we had University of Hawaii scientists come talk to us, and share what they learned about natural farming. Then I am part of the Farmers Union, and so we sponsor a hemp conference here. This one, I think it didn't get that many uploads. I guess I didn't finish putting those in there. But Hawaii Hemp Conference, if you're interested in hemp, I gave a talk there talking about natural farming and how that involves. And then I'm also president of the East Hawaii chapter of the Farmers Union. So I always try to film our state conventions. So here's from 2017. You can watch all the field trips and presentations that I got to go attend there. And then just finishing out my, my popular uploads, people like My No Smell Pigs, the documentary. Here's one specifically on chicken feed, of how to make chicken feed. Then there's, egg yolk oil, which is a lot of Indian people check this out. It's an amazing recipe for healing cuts and, hernias and all these different things. And then, of course, raising soldier flies is always a popular thing because chicken feed, it's like free protein out of the air. And the last one that's pretty darn popular is my certification course, which is, I talked about it here a little bit before, but it's basically 6 2.5 hour videos that, if by the end of that, you should be, able to do Korean natural farming. If you follow the recipes, it always helps to come here, learn in person. I do have a course coming up November, and I'll be doing, I think, also February. So check out knffarm.com if you want to find out when I'm doing courses here, or if you want to come stay at the KNF farm, get in touch with me there. Also, my other website, naturalfarminghawaii.net, is something that I've been running for years, and yeah, bunch of resources. But if you are looking for my YouTube channel, if you're watching this video, most likely you found it. Just click on my name, you'll find it. Or you can go to knf video.com, and it'll redirect you to this website here, which is my YouTube channel. So thanks for tuning in. Yeah, if you have questions, check them out. Join the live stream, or I don't know, figure out some way, get more people involved, get more questions going. But appreciate your time, energy. Go out there, spread natural farming, save the planet, save the world, become rich. And as always, long live the natural farmer.